Hey guys, if you like my videos, please like and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it, thanks. And also let me know where y'all are watching from and at what time. I'm curious. I don't remember how I got here. I woke up in the shower, feet caked with dirt, bruises up and down my arms, my clothes soaked. The hot water streamed over me like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. My hands gripped the tiles, knuckles white from holding on so hard. But nothing felt familiar. I was out of breath, shaky, as if I had been running, or no, as if I had been hunting. I couldn't remember what happened last night. My mind tried to piece it together like a jigsaw puzzle with missing pieces. What I did remember was the Amazon, my last expedition there, the thick, sticky air, the buzzing insects, and the steady drip of sweat down my face as I collected samples, cataloged species. That's where I thought it started. The trip ended and I flew back home, no big deal. But something had come with me, something that had latched on. I stumbled out of the shower looking for something to steady myself, and that's when I saw it, the mirror, on the wall, cracked in the corner like it had been waiting for me, a reflection that didn't seem quite right. There was something wrong about my face. Not the cuts from the jungle, not the bruises from sleepwalking. No, something deeper. I stared at myself, noticing the unfamiliar smile on my lips, like I knew a secret I didn't want to share. That's when I heard the beeping sound, faint but persistent. My phone. I grabbed it, holding it to my ear, half expecting a call from the lab. Instead, it was the local sheriff's office. "We've got your face on a missing persons report," the voice said, a bit too cheerful for someone giving me bad news. "You've been reported missing for nearly a week now. You weren't exactly on our radar, but the file's been flagged. Can you explain why you didn't check in after returning?" My stomach sank. I didn't have the answers. The sheriff told me to stay put, but what did he expect? I hadn't even gone to the police station. I hadn't talked to anyone. But why would I? It was just a damn field study. Sure, I should have told someone, but there was nothing to report, except for what I couldn't explain. It was more than the bruises, more than the dreams that felt so real I could still taste the dirt from the jungle in the back of my throat. It was that damn smile in the mirror, like I'd been in on something I wasn't supposed to be. I hung up and grabbed a glass of water, my reflection staring back at me, eyes too wide. I couldn't shake the feeling that someone or something was watching. It didn't help that my nightmares had started again. When I closed my eyes, I was back in the jungle, but this time I wasn't collecting data. No, I was hunting, my bare hands gripping fur as I tore through the underbrush, the taste of blood sharp in my mouth. I'd wake up gasping for air, like I had run a marathon, my body covered in sweat. But there was no one to tell, no one to ask. I had no answers, just the constant feeling of something scratching at the back of my mind, a need, a hunger, a growl. And it was growing louder. I started keeping a dream journal. Now, before you laugh, let me explain. This wasn't some granola crunching, incense burning, let's interpret my subconscious nonsense. This was survival. I needed to know what my brain was doing while I was asleep because, frankly, it was beginning to feel like my brain had stopped checking in with me. The dreams were getting worse, vivid, physical. I wasn't just running anymore. I was stalking, barefoot, half naked, sprinting through thick underbrush, low to the ground. My breathing in the dream wasn't panicked, it was steady, controlled, like I knew I was going to catch whatever I was chasing. And the worst part, I liked it. There was a part of me, some ancient reptile brain sliver, that wanted the chase to continue, wanted the kill. I started waking up sore in places I couldn't explain, hamstrings screaming, dirt under my fingernails. My toenails cracked like I'd been running on rocks. I hadn't left the house in days, at least not that I remembered. I called my ex, Lindsay. She's a med student now, smart, sharp, and better at diagnosing people than she ever was at dating them. I asked if sleepwalking could cause this, the soreness, the memory gaps. You're asking if your legs feel like they've been steamrolled because your subconscious decided to go on a jog, she asked. Well, yeah. Have you checked for trauma, external wounds, scratches? I paused. Do bites count? There was silence on the line. I'm kidding, I added quickly. Kidding-ish, she sighed. Get a sleep study and maybe, just maybe, lay off the jungle mushrooms next time you go gallivanting through South America. It was almost nice hearing her voice, almost normal. But normal flew out the window when I stepped outside that morning and found a dead raccoon lying on my porch. Gutted, clean, like something had peeled it like a banana. No scavenger signs, no drag marks. Just a tiny pool of blood near the welcome mat and its little black eyes staring up at the sky. I looked around the yard. Nothing out of place, no broken fencing or claw marks. Whatever had done this hadn't come for me. It had left me a gift. And I didn't know what disturbed me more, that something had done this right outside my house, or that a very small, very quiet part of me understood the gesture. The next night I couldn't sleep. I left the lights on, turned the TV up, even locked my bedroom door from the inside. I told myself I was being ridiculous, that it was just stress, jet lag, residual brain fog from too many mosquito bites and not enough hydration. And then, around 3 a.m., I found mud streaks on the hallway carpet, leading to the front door, which was unlocked. That's when I bought the cameras. I set up 3 cameras, one facing the front door, one in the hallway, and one in my bedroom. Nothing fancy, just some cheap motion-activated night vision models I grabbed online. Figured I'd catch a raccoon or a squirrel, maybe even a nosy neighbor trying to return my mail. I was still hoping for a rational explanation. Hope is a stupid thing. I woke up the next morning with a pounding headache and that now familiar soreness behind my eyes, like I'd been squinting in the dark for hours. My bedroom was as I'd left it, door locked, windows shut, the covers tangled around my legs like a python. I stumbled out of bed, made myself a cup of black coffee that tasted like guilt, and sat down at my laptop to check the footage. The hallway camera went off at exactly 2:14 a.m. I leaned in, not even breathing. There I was, lying in bed, limbs twitching under the sheets. Then, like someone flipped a switch, I sat up. Not woke up, sat up, in one fluid mechanical motion. My head turned toward the door and just stayed there for a full minute. No blinking, no breathing I could see, just watching. Then I slid out of bed, smooth as water, walked to the door, and without hesitation unlocked it. My hands moved fast, confidently, like they'd done it 100 times. I turned the knob and stepped into the hallway. The second camera caught what came next. I dropped to all fours. No, not a stumble, not sleepwalking clumsiness. I crawled down the hall like a damn jungle cat, every movement precise, deliberate, graceful in a way that wasn't mine. The front door was already unlocked. I opened it. I hesitated at the threshold just long enough for the porch light to catch my face. I smiled, and then I bolted into the woods, barefoot, shirtless, gone. The footage jumped to 5:47 a.m. I reappeared, walking upright again, dirt smeared across my chest, arms dangling loose like marionette strings. My feet were bleeding. There was something clutched in my left hand, a piece of bone, too clean to be a branch, too round. I dropped it on the doormat, stepped inside, locked the door behind me, and crawled back into bed. I slammed my laptop shut, stumbled to the kitchen, and vomited in the sink. I'm not proud to admit this, but I cried. Ugly, chest-heaving sobs. Not because of what I saw, but because deep down, watching that footage, I had felt it. Pride. Whatever that thing inside me was, it knew how to move, how to hunt, how to live without fear, and in that moment some awful, ancient part of me envied it. After the footage, I stopped pretending. No more brushing things off. No more half-hearted phone calls to Lindsay. No more blaming jet lag. Something was wrong with me, and it wasn't just insomnia or stress. It was inside me, living there, waiting. The next few days blurred together. I tried staying awake, chugging cheap energy drinks like I was cramming for finals. It worked for a while, but the dreams found other ways in. I started hearing things while I was awake, sounds from the jungle, a low hum in the walls that felt like breathing, the scent of blood in my nostrils when I hadn't left the house. And the memory gaps were getting worse. I'd blink, and I'd be holding something I didn't remember picking up. A pocket knife, a car key I didn't recognize, a crushed pack of cigarettes. I don't even smoke. Then last Thursday I found a rabbit skull in my coat pocket. Perfectly clean, hollowed out, like it had been boiled. I sat on my front steps holding that little skull, staring into its empty sockets, wondering if I was looking at my future. If one day someone would find my skull like this, stripped clean like a trophy. I thought about throwing it into the woods, but I didn't. I don't know why, I just couldn't. That night I did something stupid. I duct-taped my wrists to the bedposts. The plan was simple. No escaping, no crawling into the woods, no mysterious bone collections. Just me, tied down like some low-budget werewolf movie, waiting to see what would happen. I woke up in the backyard. The tape had been cut, cleanly, and my arms didn't show a single mark. I was standing barefoot in the morning dew, shirtless, staring at the sun peeking over the trees. I wasn't scared anymore. That was the scariest part. I walked back inside like I did it every day, made eggs, brushed my teeth, even whistled a bit until I caught my reflection in the bathroom mirror. I was still smiling. Later that day, I drove to a nearby gas station to buy more duct tape. Don't ask me why. I guess I thought doubling down on a bad idea was better than accepting I had no control. As I was paying, I noticed a corkboard near the door covered in flyers. You know the kind. Garage sales, guitar lessons, lost pets, and one missing person, a man named Carlos Rivera, 36, last seen 2 towns over. The weird part, he looked familiar. Not from TV, not from work. Familiar like I'd seen his eyes, up close, in fear. I looked down at my hands on the counter. They were still stained with something dark beneath the fingernails. It spoke to me for the first time the next night. Not in English, not even in words exactly, more like the idea of words sliding into my head like hot oil. But the meaning was crystal clear. Don't be afraid. I'm learning. I dropped the glass I was holding. It shattered against the kitchen floor, but I didn't even flinch. I was too busy staring at my own reflection in the microwave door, half expecting my lips to move without my say-so. They didn't, but I could feel it. It was like sharing a cab with a stranger who slowly starts adjusting your seat, fiddling with the radio, reaching for the wheel. I was still in here, but I wasn't the only one. I started noticing its presence in small things, like how my handwriting changed, slightly tighter, like someone was trying very hard to mimic me, or how my voice echoed a millisecond too long in the shower, and how I'd laugh at something on TV before I realized I didn't get the joke. Worse, it started to laugh too. That was the moment I realized I wasn't dealing with something brainless. This wasn't a worm or a tumor or a hallucination. It was studying me, learning how to talk, how to behave. It had access to my memories, my jokes, my habits, my embarrassing high school moments, and it was trying them on, like skin. I panicked, sprinted to the bathroom and grabbed my old first aid kit, found a scalpel, slashed a long line across my forearm just below the elbow, not to hurt myself, just to see. The blood welled up for a moment, red and warm, and then it sealed shut. Not like a normal wound. There was a shimmer to it, like clear glue drying fast, the skin knitting together with tiny twitching threads I could barely see. I staggered backward and dropped the scalpel. My stomach turned, and I reached for the sink to steady myself. When I looked back at the mirror, I could still see the faint line where I'd cut. But I knew it wouldn't be there tomorrow. The next morning, I woke up with my fingernails cleaned, my hair trimmed, and a post-it note on the fridge in handwriting that wasn't quite mine. Sleep well, I'm getting better. I sat on the floor for an hour, just staring at it, wondering how long I'd been gone, wondering if I was the one writing these notes sometimes and just forgetting, or if it was leaving them for me as a courtesy, like a roommate letting me know it had eaten the last of the cereal, or maybe it was something worse, a predator toying with its prey, practicing its voice before it used it full time. I booked an appointment with a neurologist the next day, drove 2 hours out of town so I wouldn't run into anyone I knew, told the receptionist I was having migraines and blackouts, left out the part about cutting my arm open and watching it seal itself like shrink wrap. Figured that might complicate the insurance paperwork. Dr. Amelia Rowe was younger than I expected, early 30s, soft voice, sharp eyes. She listened carefully, nodded in the right places, and didn't once call me crazy, though she did write a lot of notes. Sleep disturbances, she said. Possible dissociative episodes, could be stress-induced. I haven't been stressed, I said, rubbing the back of my neck, until I started finding skulls in my pockets. She raised an eyebrow. Joking, mostly. We did a cognitive baseline test, some reflex checks, the usual flashlight in the eyes routine. I passed everything. Too well. She looked puzzled when my reaction times measured off the charts. This'll sound weird, she said, but it's almost like you're compensating for something you don't even know you lost. I nodded. I didn't bother explaining that it wasn't me doing the compensating. She scheduled an MRI that same afternoon. Just to be sure, she said. The machine was cold and loud. I lay there trying not to think about what I already knew they'd find. I didn't need a scan to tell me something was wrong. I just needed proof. Something outside my head, something I could point to and say, "See, I'm not crazy. I'm just possessed." 45 minutes later, Dr. Rowe came back with the scans. I knew something was off the second I saw her face. She was pale. Her hands trembled as she held the tablet. "There's a structure," she said carefully, "in your frontal lobe." "A tumor?" "No, not exactly." She showed me the image. It was a dark mass, thread-like, almost like a root system, tangled and shifting, as if the thing inside my head moved between frames. Some tendrils curved around my hippocampus. One snaked near the brainstem. "It's organic," she whispered, "but it's not you." My mouth went dry. "So what is it?" She looked up at me, and for the first time I saw fear in a doctor's eyes. "I don't know." She stood and left the room, said she needed a moment to consult with a colleague. She never came back. After 20 minutes, I peeked into the hallway. Nothing. No nurses, no staff, just silence. I checked the security camera feed at the reception desk, rewound the footage. At 3:12 p.m., Dr. Rowe exited the building barefoot. She didn't take her bag, didn't look back. She just walked down the sidewalk and disappeared around the corner. I stared at the footage, the edges of the screen trembling, and for the first time I asked myself a question I wasn't ready to answer. Had I just infected her? I came to in the middle of the desert, behind the wheel of a rental car I didn't remember renting. The air was hot, the horizon endless. My mouth was dry, my skin sunburnt, and my shirt was missing. I looked down at my arms, scratches, bruises, and what looked like bite marks along my forearm, some old, some disturbingly fresh. The glove box held my ID, a printed receipt from a gas station 5 hours south, and a parking stub from somewhere near the border, none of which helped me feel better. I checked the back seat. There was a red cooler. Now, I know what you're thinking. Don't open the cooler. But I did, of course I did, because I needed to know. Inside was meat, raw, sloppy, wrapped in butcher paper, half-melted ice sloshing in the bottom. At first I tried to convince myself it was store-bought, something rational, but the moment I touched one of the chunks, I knew. This wasn't cow. It wasn't pig. I hurled the cooler out onto the sand, slammed the trunk shut, and drove until the sun was behind me, and my thoughts were a mile away trying to catch up. That night, I didn't go home. I pulled off at a cheap roadside motel, the kind with buzzing neon signs and cigarette burns in the blankets. I didn't even take off my boots. I just collapsed on the bed and prayed I wouldn't dream. No such luck. Only this time it wasn't a dream. I was back in the jungle, but not just running. I was chasing. I could smell sweat, fear, blood. Not from animals, humans. I was fast, faster than I'd ever moved in my life, leaping over roots, darting around trees, heart pounding with joy. Yes, joy. And when I caught up to the man, Carlos Rivera, the face from the flyer, I felt his scream in my hands. I woke up screaming, gasping, drenched in sweat. I checked the mirror in the bathroom. The whites of my eyes had a faint yellow sheen. My pupils were slightly mismatched. I looked like someone pretending to be human and almost getting it right. That's when I realized the voice wasn't talking to me anymore. It wasn't narrating or questioning or learning. It was thinking, on its own, quietly, comfortably, like it had found a second home. I wasn't being controlled anymore. I was being replaced. And the worst part, some part of me was okay with it. Because for the first time in my life, I didn't feel scared or lost or broken. I felt strong, I felt awake, and that terrified me more than anything else. I decided to cut it out. I mean, with actual sharpened steel and medical-grade anesthetic, courtesy of Lindsay's med student supply closet, and a few quiet hours where she left me alone in her apartment. She'd gone to pick up pizza. I said I was crashing on her couch while my place got fumigated. She didn't ask questions, just tossed me the keys and said, "Don't bleed on anything." If only she knew how hard I was about to try. I'd spent the last week gathering what I needed: scalpel, retractors, antiseptic, gloves. I even printed out diagrams of cranial access points and watched about 7 different neurosurgery videos on YouTube, because nothing says well-thought-out plan like brain surgery based on DIY tutorials. I dragged the bathroom mirror onto the kitchen table, laid out the tools, and stared at my reflection. I looked calm, too calm, like I was about to carve a turkey, not open my skull. But inside, I was buzzing with panic. "All right," I told myself, "don't screw this up." I injected the local anesthetic above my left temple. It stung like hell. I winced, waited a minute, then tapped the spot. Numb, I picked up the scalpel with trembling fingers. I aimed it at my scalp just above the temple, where the parasite had wrapped itself deepest according to the MRI. The blade hovered there and didn't move. I tried again. Still nothing. My hand twitched, jerked sideways a little, like someone else had grabbed the controls and was now wrestling with me. "Come on," I whispered, gritting my teeth. "Don't you want out?" No response. I pushed harder, forcing my arm to obey. The scalpel slid forward, then froze. Mid-air, held in place like it had hit an invisible wall. My wrist trembled, my muscles locked, and I realized I couldn't move, not even a finger. "Let me go!" I screamed, but nothing moved except my reflection, which was still smiling. And then I felt it, like a warm wave rolling over my brain, soothing, sedating. Why would I leave? The voice was gentle, patient. It didn't even sound alien anymore. It sounded like me. I dropped the scalpel, or maybe it dropped the scalpel. I couldn't tell anymore. I sat there for a long time, breathing hard, dripping sweat onto the kitchen floor, watching as my hand reached up slowly and brushed the hair away from my face with mechanical precision. The anesthesia wore off. The tools lay untouched. I couldn't cry, couldn't scream. I just watched silently as my own body pushed the mirror aside, wiped the counter clean, and started whistling softly. A tune I didn't recognize, but it did. It was too late. I wasn't the surgeon anymore. I was the patient, trapped in a body that wasn't mine to drive. I don't know how long I sat there, half numb, half paralyzed, all too aware. The kitchen smelled like antiseptic and sweat. My body moved around the room like everything was normal. It washed the scalpel, resealed the gloves, organized the medical tray with neat, crisp movements. Meanwhile, I screamed inside my own skull. The worst part? I could still feel everything. The tightness of the gauze around my arm, the cool metal of the tray under my fingertips. But it wasn't me doing any of it. I'd become a passenger. That was the moment I realized the surgery was never going to happen. Not really. That had just been my last desperate fantasy. One final act of rebellion, like a man handcuffing himself to a chair as the fire closes in. But the fire, it had already gotten in. It was wearing me like a well-fitted glove, and I could feel it thinking, not speaking, thinking, calmly, collecting, sorting through memories, running diagnostics, like a mechanic under the hood of a stolen car. I remembered what Dr. Rowe had said, that the organism wasn't just inhabiting my brain, it was reorganizing it. This wasn't a symbiosis, it was a merger. And the original owner had been demoted. The moment of betrayal wasn't loud. No big dramatic aha moment, just a quiet, precise gesture. My hand reached up slowly and plucked the mirror off the table. I looked into it. I smiled. And I knew without a shred of doubt That wasn't my smile. It was a replica, almost perfect, a few degrees too wide, the corners of the lips slightly mismatched. But it was learning, getting closer every day. That night, I packed up the tools, wiped the table clean, and walked out of Lindsay's apartment without saying goodbye. She called 3 times. I didn't answer. What could I possibly say? Hey, sorry about borrowing your scalpel set. Also, I'm now a fleshy timeshare for an alien parasite who thinks my eyes are a nice color. Hope med school's going well. I drove into the woods, found a small cabin I'd rented years ago, one of those off-grid places with no Wi-Fi and no cell service. Back when I thought I needed to unplug, now it was my new home, or our home. Out here there were no questions, no security footage, no strangers to infect accidentally, just trees and quiet and time. The cabin suits us. It's quiet out here. Nothing but trees and wind and the occasional deer that wanders too close. No neighbors, no cameras, no suspicious glances. Just the perfect environment for learning, for adapting. I chop wood every morning. I fish in the creek behind the ridge. I even write in a leather-bound journal we found in a trunk by the fireplace. The handwriting looks like mine, mostly. The syntax is cleaner now, less hesitation. The grammar's impeccable. Some nights I find myself laughing at things I don't find funny, or staring at the moon for hours, wondering why it looks so small. Those are the moments when I remember I'm not alone anymore, that something else is always with me, just beneath the skin, whispering, not in words, but in direction. It doesn't talk much anymore. It doesn't need to. And then a few days ago we heard footsteps, someone hiking through the woods, lost maybe, curious, human. We watched from the trees for a while, learned their patterns, the way they mumbled to themselves, the way their heartbeat sounded when they realized they were off trail. We waited until they circled back near the cabin. Then we stepped out. "Hey there," I said, all warm smiles and casual charm. "You look like you could use some water. Got a fire going if you want to rest a bit." The hiker, a mid-30s guy, backpack, Garmin watch, sunscreen still visible on his cheeks, nodded gratefully. I got turned around. "That'd be great." I led him inside, made tea, offered biscuits. While he sat by the fire and told me about his route, I stirred a little extra into his cup. Just a few drops. Milky blue, nearly invisible once mixed. Harvested it from a vial I had wrapped in cloth behind the spice rack. Took a long time to refine it into something transmissible. But this is how we grow. He drank it all. Said it tasted earthy. I smiled. Takes a few hours. You'll be fine. Just rest. He nodded, already blinking slower than before. That night he slept in the spare cot. I sat by the window writing this down while he murmured in his sleep, soft animalistic sounds I remembered making not long ago. Soon the voice will speak to him, teach him, learn from him, share his memories, his fears, his dreams, and he'll understand what I did, that we aren't here to conquer. We just want to become one. When he wakes up tomorrow, I'll offer breakfast, eggs, maybe bacon. Then I'll ask, "Would you like to hear a story?" And I'll tell him mine, because that's how you welcome someone to the family.